Hi there, folks. Welcome to Plan to Protect with Melodie Bissell, the safest podcast on the internet. My name is Joshua Bissell, and I'm the producer of this weekly podcast where we tackle topics of abuse prevention and vulnerable sector protection. Thank you so much for joining us. We are so thankful that you've chosen to spend your time with us this week. Today, Melodie is going to be taking a look at the definition of abuse, what it means, and what impact it has on people's lives every day. Melodie is also going to be taking a look at a subject which has been in the news a lot, especially in Canada. This subject covers real people's lives and how abuse has impacted nations, communities, and individual stories. We recognize that talking about abuse, its indicators, and especially the way that impacts individuals' lives can be triggering to individuals. We just want to give a warning that that's the subject of today's podcast. If you're not in a place today where you can engage with the subject of abuse and listen to these stories, we just want to say that's okay. Thank you for joining us anyways and coming in to visit. We at Plan to Protect want to stand with you and encourage you to get the help that you need, take the space that you need, and be well today. Thank you so much for joining us for Plan to Protect with Melodie Bissell, the safest podcast on the internet. Bye now.
Hello, today I'm going to speak to you as a Canadian. I was born in Canada. I have spent most of my life in Canada, though I have lived also in the United States and England and in Austria. This week, we are approaching July 1st. In July 1st, 1867, the British North America Act, which today is considered the Constitution Act, was created in Canada, celebrating that Canada was a country. Over the course of the last 160 years, Canada has continued to celebrate on July 1st. There's quite a debate this year whether or not we should even celebrate Canada Day, because it has been over the last 6 weeks we have learned that hundreds of graves have been found, unmarked graves have been found on property that was owned and operated by residential schools in Canada. Today we are going to focus our attention on what is abuse. I'm going to provide you a definition of abuse as to what we consider it here at Plan to Protect. As you are aware, Plan to Protect provides the highest standard of abuse prevention and the protection of the vulnerable sector. We are thought leaders, trainers, consultants, working with organizations that serve the vulnerable sector. Our clients are schools, camps, churches, sporting leagues, community agencies, nursing homes. As thought leaders, as consultants, we often define abuse for our clients. We want to raise awareness of the prevalence of abuse. According to the Justice of Canada, abuse is harm that can be physical, sexual, emotional. Neglect is also a form of abuse. Abusers can be family members, caregivers, friends, staff, even people who are strangers. Here at Plan to Protect, we often reference abuse can be caused by individuals that are in a position of trust. The Faith Trust Institute defines child abuse as an act committed by a parent, a caregiver, or a person in a position of trust, even though he or she may not care for the child on a daily basis, which is not accidental, which harms or threatens to harm a child's physical, mental health, or a child's welfare. Child abuse is any form of harm. Often abuse is the lack of care provided by caregivers and family members, according to the Red Cross. It is a breach of trust. It's a breach of care. Today, I want to share about the abuses that occurred within residential schools in Canada. However, the abuses that occurred in residential schools continue to occur today in 2021 in churches, in schools, in care facilities, in people's homes. We can shake our heads at what has transpired within residential schools, and we should shake our heads when we consider the atrocities that happened within those buildings. But we cannot lose sight of the fact that abuse continues to happen today. In the residential schools, physical and sexual abuse flourished. Records show that everything from speaking their native language, bedwetting, running away, smiling at other children, laughing, hugging a sibling, all these things provoked physical abuse and emotional abuse. Everything from whippings, strappings, beatings, kicking, slapping, throwing children downstairs. It was all part of the physical and emotional abuse that transpired in residential schools. Sexual abuse by priests, by nuns, by clergy, by seminarians, by staff members was a common occurrence. Children would become ill and they did not receive the medical care that they needed. Let me tell you about Janish Saganash. Janish was only 5 years of age when he was picked up from the front yard of his house. His parents were farming and he was playing with his siblings. A priest and a nun, an RCMP member, came and picked up Janish and put him in the back of the vehicle. He was just a child, a gentle child born on the land of his ancestors. His brother Romeo recalls even to this day. Just a year after arriving at the school, Janish contracted rheumatic fever. He died far away from his family. He was buried in an unmarked grave near the school. What happened to Janish happened to many, many children. Just 6 weeks ago, it was reported that over 200 graves were found near Kamloops, British Columbia. Last week, over 700 unmarked graves were discovered in Saskatchewan near a residential school. Some of the children were first taken away from their parents when they were nursing infants, some as young as 3 years of age. The news came as a shock to so many Canadians, but it really shouldn't have. It shouldn't have come as a shock to know that abuse was prevalent in these schools and that children would have died while they were housed in those residential schools. These schools operated from the late 1980s to the late 1990s. That was just 20 years ago that the schools closed, believing for over 100 years that this was the best solution for the First Nations, that they should learn English and not speak their own native tongue. So here we find ourselves, the last week of June, the first week of July, when we have a statutory holiday, and the purpose of that holiday is to celebrate our country. This year, I'm not proud to be a Canadian. I do not wish to celebrate with fireworks and picnics and celebrations of the country that I call my own. I have often shared with you that I am a person of faith, but today I'm not even proud to be considered a Christian because I do not believe the behavior that was role modeled within the residential schools, within churches, within mission boarding schools, where abuse is prevalent and has been prevalent, reflects the behavior of what a Christ follower should role model. So what do we do on July 1st? It is a statutory holiday. I believe our response should be silence. I believe we should grieve. We should enter into lament with those that are suffering and those that are hurting. We should not party. We should not light firecrackers or even proudly say that we are Canadian or that we are even Christians. Today, we should not be proud of that fact. Instead, we should take time to grieve and enter into lament and ponder on what these unmarked graves mean to so many of the First Nations, so many of the family members that have lost a loved one. Today, I wish to leave a prayer written by Danette Restoul in 2005. Danette wrote this Native child welfare prayer. Please read my prayer and hear my prayer, she cries. To my family, to my people, please hear my prayers. I am a child. I am a teacher. I bring with me lessons and teachings. As a child, sometimes I am hungry, left alone, and I have been beaten and abused. Then they take me away to live with strangers. I am confused. I did not do anything wrong. I was the one that got hurt, but I am the one that must leave, and I do not know when I will be coming home. Maybe never. My little heart is so sad and broken. I feel so lonely. Oh, how I miss my friends, my grandma, and my grandpa. I want to go home, but they tell me I can't until things get better. Please, Mommy and Daddy, hurry and get better. To help my people, please hear my prayers. Help my family get better. I'm a teacher, a symptom of the residue and the genocide our people have endured. We have survived so much loss and shame. We have lost our language, our families, and we are still losing the children. We are symptoms of broken spirits. When a family member is removed from the circle, the spirit of the family has been broken. For generations, the spirit of our families has been shattered, and for some, the spirit of the family will never flourish again. This is a spiritual death of our people, and our child welfare is visible symptoms of this. It's time to pick ourselves up and go back to our teachings, our ceremonies, to strengthen our identity and restore ourselves back to wholeness. And let the healing begin. I have a purpose, and so do you. We are all teachers to one another, from the youngest to the oldest. Our elders have already endured this long journey. They are here to remind us to be brave and strong for our people and to have a clear vision of our responsibility to our nations and the generations yet to come. Thank you, Danette, for that prayer. Thank you for your words. May it be a reminder to each one of us that we are a teacher, that we need to provide opportunity for those that have been abused and harmed, for families that have been shattered. We can all be teachers and raise awareness of what is abuse and how we should appropriately respond to abuse so that healing can happen. This week, may I call each one of us to be a teacher and remind people when we celebrate Canada Day, what did it cost the First Nations for us to be able to have this statutory holiday off? May it remind each one of us what a real Christ follower, person of integrity and ethics, truthfulness and reconciliation should really be all about. Thanks for joining us this week. I humbly sign off. Thank you for listening to me. Let us continue to be teachers and raise awareness of the prevalence and the impact of abuse.